Hi everyone, I'm Rose McNair and I am coming to you from the Great Awakening Generator channel. We are here in Auckland, New Zealand. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're having a really good day. My guest today is Carol Bird. Carol is a specialist in alternative healing, and Carol is also based in Auckland. Hello, Carol.
Hi, Rose.
How are you
Thank you for
today?
having me.
It's
Yeah, very
always,
good.
sorry, it's always a pleasure. And thank you for coming on board to have a chat with me at such short notice. For the benefit of our audience, Carol and I have done radio interviews together, and I have had some of Carol's energy healing, and I've got to tell you, it's amazing. I refer to Carol as my shaman. I tell people she's my shaman. She didn't know that before now. So, how's your day?
Yeah, it's been good. Thanks.
That's good. That's good. So, Carol, I know that our topic for today is Dark Night of the Soul, but I have introduced you as a specialist in alternative healing. Do you want to say something about that, please, to start off with? What does that mean in terms of alternative healing? And I guess also tell us where you can be contacted. We will remind our audience of this information again before we end today's interview, but I just thought we might just start off with it anyway.
Sure. So I am a full-time energy healer. I work with people energetic field, the electromagnetic field of a person. So I first evaluate, their energy level or frequency level and to see where they're at. And then we will go into the healing session where we actually find out blockages on their physical, emotional, and mental, spiritual layers of the bodies in their fields, and then try to remove those blockages, so the body itself heals, and on different levels. And then through that process, one understands more about what's going on in their life and what's going on in their body. So sometimes bodily symptoms comes up, but there's something deeper than that because it's normally created from a mental emotional level, and then it manifests in the body. So that is one of the examples of what that actually means by working with energy. And then we work with the energy centers within the body, which we call chakras. So we work with balancing those chakras area, and each chakras corresponds with the different organs of the body. And so by clearing that and aligning that, or activating that, we kind of maintain and be able to balance the body, and in order to achieve well-being. And so this is a alternative therapy, means it is complementary to mainstream ways of treatment. So it is kind of using another lenses, if you will, to look at the same problems that one is facing in life. It could be physical, it could be psychological and mental. So it goes deeper into the soul level. So this is what I do. And then apart from that, I do other services such as helping people to find their spiritual gifts, and then also help with their clearing. So sometimes we have bad energies in places or home, or in people. They felt like they got and not feeling comfortable, and they felt like they're draining or things like that. We do clearing on that level to help to clear whatever interferences or whatever energies that people need to get rid of in order to go on with their life on a more positive note. So I do that. So I work with adults, children, and also animals. But mostly my service is based on human at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Carol, I'm just going to adjust your volume a little bit. Sorry.
That's fine.
I'm just going to take it down a little bit. Okay, sorry. It's the channel that anything can happen. All right, so Carol, you do some amazing work, and I'm glad that you put the disclaimer that your work is centered around, not centered around, but basically is complementary to the medical system, right? Yeah, yep. So I'm hoping you say something so I can check your volume again there. So
okay.
that's okay. This happens. Not to worry. We're gonna go with the flow, right? And we're just gonna be naturally do what we do. So Carol, I know we're talking about Dark Night of the Soul, but it just popped into my head that for the benefit of our audience, we might ask, okay, so who would be choosing something like this? You know, what kind of experience would a person be going through to say, well, you know what, I think I need complementary to the mainstream medical, well, not mainstream, but to the medical system. You know, who would choose that kind of healing, Carol?
Yeah, so most of the people who come to me with that experiencing of the dark night of the soul, some of them they knew what it is. Some of them they are just going through some intense loss or feeling themselves being lost in their life, but they don't feel like they think maybe they already tried psychotherapy, maybe they already tried psychologists and they went to doctors and things like that, but they don't seem to find out ways that's able to help them understand what's going on. So they search some alternative way in explanation and to help them to, you know, understand from a different perspective. And so most of them have the problem. So before we start going into it, let me just explain what Dark Night of the Soul. So Dark Night, so apparently it is full of darkness of the soul. It means the soul itself is going through a period of darkness. So what that means was sometimes it accommodate actually it involves with the feeling of kind of helplessness, fear, anxiety, panic attacks, um, and a lot of intensity that comes up in it will manifest through the surface in the person's life. So, for example, a person might experience a loss of relationship, like a long-term relationships that just got, you know, maybe they got divorced or break up, and then they lost, you know, their best friend or loved ones. It could be a real, you know, death of the person as well. So suddenly there's this loss of connection, basically. So so that could trigger all those kind of traumatic emotion or, you know, negative emotions in them. And then it could manifest through a loss of job, career. You know,
Yes.
suddenly you wake up in the morning or you suddenly started to question, you know, what I'm doing. I don't feel that I am, you know, able to carry on with this life anymore. Or I could not be able to carry on with this job anymore. Or I could not be able to carry on with this person anymore. So all sorts of that. So actually, it just purge you into the what we call a spiritual crisis. That you started to questions about life, about yourself, about what actually happened in the past. What am I going to do? You felt lost. So sometimes you felt, you know, depressed about this. Sometimes you felt isolated. You felt suddenly you lost connection and you just like in an abyss or feeling, you know, really lonely.
Yes.
So that's coming out through what we call this spiritual crisis.
Yes. So I wonder, you know, sometimes how people get depressed after, like you say, something like a divorce or a death of a loved one. I mean, a death of the loved one, we've always told is part of life, you know, but sometimes this triggers things that takes them so further away from where it should ordinarily take them. I mean, who's to say what the bar is for how depressed you should be if you lose a loved one? But sometimes it feels like everything is falling apart when that was the only thing that has actually changed, and the person is trying to make a breakthrough and just can't seem to be able to move forward, or the person doesn't feel like the soul is connecting, or they're getting any of their gut instincts coming out, or they can identify what is true to the gut or instinct, or what is true to reality, whatever. So it's almost a very confusing period, right? Do I understand that right?
Yes, it is very confusing,
Yeah.
very frustrated, and for people, they could felt like there's no way to go, don't know where to go, and
Yeah.
they couldn't talk to people about it because they don't want to be drugged.
Yes.
But they felt like that's something deeper than that,
Yeah.
it's happening. But to be honest, from an energy sense or from a spiritual perspective, you're going through an initiation. So the spiritual initiation is part of the spiritual ascension process. So when we talk about ascension, what it means, it's actually a shift in frequency or a shift in consciousness. So you are moving from one consciousness to another consciousness. Normally, it's going higher. So when that happens, the spiritual energy, which we call Kundalini, it's relating to the chakras. So
Yes.
trying to rise up, because we have like 7 major chakras in our body, and we normally operate the first 1, 2, 3 chakras. And the first 1, 2, 3 chakras corresponds with our physical, mental, emotional energies of the body, and it manifests in the bodily symptom as well as what's happening in your outside world, because it affects you, trigger you. So the energy is linked together. So when the energy is trying to go up in your body and flow up to connect with the divine energy, so when it's trying to go up, we call it the Kundalini arising. So when the Kundalini energy is trying to move up, then you got triggered into this spiritual crisis. It's actually an initiation that move you from a lower energy to a higher energy. So
Yes.
it is a blessing in disguise. So even though it seems like your world is ending, or you felt like you were dying in some way, or you couldn't feel anything in your heart anymore, it's like everything is numb. You don't know why you're here and what you're doing. So in that darkness, it's initiating you to die in order to rebirth. So this is what that initiation means. It's to renew you into a higher version of you. So when you go through this spiritual crisis, um, it is totally unavoidable actually for everyone, because at this point in time, the planetary energy is going through its planetary ascension cycle. So there is, cycles that's happening, like the solar system evolving around, and a galaxy, a central galaxy, and then the galaxy evolving around universes, and so on and so forth. So it's like our planet evolve around the sun, and then the sun
Yes.
revolve around the Milky Way
Yes.
galaxy, and the Milky Way galaxy connected to the central sun. So it's like the system itself. It's like the electron, neutron, and photon. They just revolve around each other. So we call cycles. So our planet is going through a tremendous shift and tremendous acceleration in energy. So that's why it brings up a lot of the stuff to people, and a, a lot of people felt like they have everything happen in the same time. So that's
Yes.
why it makes it feel like they cannot handle it anymore, or it's already up to this level that they do not know how to get out of it. But
Mm.
if knowing that the context of this whole ascension process, about this initiation, about the spiritual crisis that you're actually going through, and there is the end of the tunnel, then you feel more, able to handle it's because looking at the bigger picture and looking at your soul as a whole, and not just this flesh and bones experiencing, a lot of darkness, for example. So it is a phrase that your ego needs to purify, to die, in order to rebirth into a more light, more spiritual, more enlightened way of living and being.
I love that explanation. I really do, because I think it's so apt. And so now that we know what the dark night of the soul is like, and I'm sure that a lot of our audience can identify with it. We were just reflecting earlier about dark night of the soul, and I spoke to somebody else a few days ago that was talking about dark night of the soul experiences being more frequent than less frequent these days, right? And so in the past, you might have a dark night of the soul experience once in 10 years or once in 5 years. And now we seem to be having them once in 3 months even, right?
Yes.
So obviously that's got to do with the acceleration of the transformation process that we're going through, the planet's going through, the people are going through. So can you tell us how anybody who's going through this dark night of the soul experience, what tips would you give to them, if for want of a better word, because I mean, what would you advise them on how they take care of themselves through this process? Because sometimes they want to short circuit and do things, and then they go down another track that's actually not the pathway to where they're supposed to be. So what would your advice be?
Right. So most of the people, what they do, if they're like, there's always choices. There's two choices. So the one choice is to go to the same way. So remain the same way, react the same way. So normally people denial actually what's happening, or nevertheless to face them, or blaming others. So the normal outlet would be to choose that path, to just, give the responsibility to someone else, and you not yourself not doing the inner work to actually go through this metamorphosis within yourself to transform into a more enlightened person. So you either go that way, or then you go the other way, is you start going within. So by going within, it means first you try to seek help. So you first try to seek help and understand there is like a lot of information now online, on YouTube even. There are a lot of teachers who are, working diligently with ascension work or things like that to be able to explain a bit more about what's going on as well. So first, to understand the context of it really helps. And then secondly, look after your body, because the first thing that it's impacting you is actually the body. So the body going through a cellular transformation. So when those emotion and mental stuff got triggers, it's normally those stuff that is, wounded self or inner child healing that is needed, or that is some kind of emotional trauma that you haven't been processed through. So these kind of stuff will bring back, you got to like sort of dig deep into yourself, like, why do I come up with this emotion? Why do I come up with this thought pattern? So then you try to trace back what sort of beliefs behind those thought patterns that I'm having. And you will normally find that they were all negative. So it's going down to the destructive path, self-sabotage, or, a lot of those are towards fear-based. So then you know that once, oh, okay, these are fear-based. So then you know that these belief systems are the old energies that's actually meant to initiate us to purge them out, to release them. But first, before you can release them, you need to acknowledge them. You need to accept what it is what it is, and you need to accept what actually happened to you, regardless right and wrong. Who did you right? Who did you wrong? Or is that the things happen to you? Why does that happen to me? Why me? And then you start, going to victimization mode. So those kinds of energies are the first three chakras energies, which we mentioned before, are the lower energy sphere based. So those energies, it's like a cycle. It will come up. So once it comes up, you deal with it, it will come back again. So the second round, it comes up with the similar anxiety or fear that you have, then you might know that this is actually another cycle of your dark night of the soul. But this time, you feel more easily being able to handle than the first time. And then it goes on like this. So you don't actually clean up the whole thing all at once. It depends on how intense it is. If it is, not really intense, maybe it takes you a shorter time to process it, and then you release it, and then you integrate it, and then you overcome this. Once you overcome this, you become more self-empowered. So you actually gaining your power back, and which is the light is coming back into you. And so you feel a lot more able to handle, a lot more calm, able to handle, and a lot awareness is changed, and you feel that you gain more awareness into what's going on within yourself. So this is part of the process of what we call the shift of consciousness. So during that process, you will get easier and easier and better at it if you able to go through this process with the right support and help. So like I said, the body is the first window for yourself. So relax as much as possible, because when those emotion or those mental pattern hit you, you will purge deep into a darkness. So when that happens, you just need to breathe. You need to relax, and you need to find a way to make yourself feel happier. So whichever way, for example, listening to motivational music or frequency music that is helpful to lift your frequency, or just whatever that makes you feel more comfortable and at ease. Taking a hot shower, taking salt bath, really help detoxify all these symptoms and pull out those toxins in your body and energy. And so when during that time, make sure that you have the right supplements, minerals, vitamin C, vitamin Bs, for example, and then having more of those kind of help with the hormones. For example, helping hormones could be taking some ginseng. Nerves will be vitamin B, vitamin C with adrenals or licorice. You can use food, as your help, or the supplement that you could purchase as a product. And drink lots of water, because the cellular level is going through a detoxification, because we are energy being inside the planet, which is full of energy. So it's consciousness within consciousness. So we're not only just a spirit inside this body, but we are consciousness linking with a bigger consciousness, which is the planet. So make sure that you do relate to the nature. Go for a walk in the nature, swim in the sea, go have a walk by the beaches, hugging trees or whatever that brings you close to the nature house, doing gardening. So those tools are just on the physical level helping. And then you might need to go through some detoxification, for example, liver. If you have a lot of anger and resentment that comes up to the liver, if it's like a lot of fear and relationships, emotional trauma, guts. So make sure the detoxification, you can go on one of those herbal detoxification, or you can go through one of those food detoxification, like green juice detoxification, or do some fasting. But I would not recommend fasting with a, if you're inexperienced. So you need to research into what actually involved in the fasting to do it in the proper way. So and then so that's different level to it. So this is like kind of the physical side, and then mental, emotional side. That is how the tools come in, where if you could find a therapist or somebody like myself who could be able to help you. But if you feel like, oh, okay, maybe I will just try to handle it by myself, then I would suggest you try to research online with information of what's the tools which could help you to get through the dark night of the soul, for example, and
Yeah.
talk to someone
Yeah.
that you feel comfortable talking to.
Mm. So I'm hearing a few things from what you're saying, and I say this for the benefit of our audience because to highlight it. I'm hearing that although what the dark night of the soul experience might be about emotions and about stuff that is outside of the body, a lot of what is happening affects the body. I'm hearing you say that, and you're saying,
Right.
well, and a lot of the clearing and the cleansing and the road to recovery means taking care of the body and giving a lot of self-love to oneself, because it's almost like you need to nurture yourself to go through that process, and you need to be easy with yourself, and not, because quite often the inner voice can thrash us, can tell us, well, get with the program, what's wrong with you, why don't you just get on, and why can't you find this job, or why can't you do this, or you've done it before, just get on and do it. So now you're saying in this experience, one of the ways to get through it is to be your friend and not be your critic. Yeah.
Exactly. And because all of this comes out as a reflection of what we think about ourselves inside. So the ultimate sort of going backwards, if you think the root cause is actually lack of self-love.
Yes.
So it is all about loving ourselves, and then you love the others, right? But first we go within and work with ourselves first, and then it's self-love and compassion, forgiveness. So all these are the tools that we could use to going back into balance. And
Yes.
in another way, for emotional stress, mental stress, the tapping method is really good. So it's the emotional release technique, which you could research on, YouTube and online. And there are a lot of videos of people teaching you how to actually tap. So it's like tapping when you have those emotional triggers. So it releases the stress in the
Okay.
body.
Wow. So I feel like, coming back to what you were saying, where, you were encouraging people to try working on themselves on their own. And then, you are also available, your work is also available, or not just you, but go to an energy healer that they can find who can help them through the process. Now, for that, I just want to support that by saying that for me, I've had quite a few dark night of the soul experiences, like many other people. The latest one I'd done all of that work on my own. I tried, there were times where even meditation for me, I couldn't do the meditation because of how intense my dark night of the soul experience was. And I also felt like my higher self was not hearing my voice, so I couldn't hear the voice within me. So it's that real dark night of the soul. The dark,
Mm.
it feels like we're disconnected. I'm here
Yeah.
and it's wherever, and it's like, oh my gosh, like what else is going to happen before you wake up? Because I've had some arguments with my higher self over this time, because I feel like, come on, you're in charge of me. You're supposed to turn up here. But this is more about the third dimensional life and things that we are having to get through and overcome from the programming, from the experiences. It is, like you're saying, shifting that soul to the higher vibrational space or the higher dimension. So I will say to our audience for benefit, I did all of that. I did all the work on my own, and then I recognized that it's time I needed to go now to an energy healer, to someone. Okay. And I go to, like I said earlier, Carol is my shaman. I go to Carol, but I wait for guidance about where I go to and whom I go to, because when it's time for me to come to Carol, my guidance system, although I say I feel disconnected, will highlight that it's time to come to Carol for what she's offering me. And so I would encourage people to learn to try on their own, because that's how we're learning to overcome the things that we haven't done so well in the past. And you will know when it's time to go and get the additional support, because that will come, and it comes through energy healing, etc. This is something that I've got to say my GP has not been able to help me with. So whilst I can go to my GP or I can go to my specialist physician or whatever about certain things, sometimes what I'm doing in that is clinical doesn't seem to be shifting. And so I know that it's more than clinical, it's energetic, it's beyond the clinical. And anyway, most of the time, a physical symptom is indicative of a metaphysical source, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, like you were saying, if you're cleansing the liver, it's to deal with what? It's emotional trauma,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
So
livers, anger, and resentment.
yes,
Yes.
yes. And so I'm articulating it like that because it's just kind of enhance what you were saying. Now, I want to say to our audience, one of the reasons we are having people like Carol on this channel is to say to you, make you aware of what you have on offer in terms of the people, the energy workers, the people that work in the esoteric to help us out with things that we're not getting help with generally, because there's something other than just a clinical thing going on or a medical thing going on. Carol, so I'll come back to this. We are talking about this topic today, and the reason I brought this topic into our as a topic for our conversation today is I feel like there's a lot of this kind of this dark night of the soul experience going on right now in our world, in our country, in our towns, on our planet. So what can you say about that? What do you think do you think I'm right in my thinking about that happening?
I personally feel that this is fantastic, because that means we are actually moving up to a higher vibration. We are actually moving up to a higher frequency.
Yes.
And this is what the earth wants to do as well. And so she actually has been going through this, the 25,000 years precision of equinox cycle. And now we're merging into another age, so as to speak. And then through that process, we as a part of Earth, it's going through the same thing. So sometimes when we are going through what we're going through, it's also linked with the people around us. So it's either our immediate family, which is ancestral, or people that it's close to us, and then the collective.
Yes.
So this is different layers. It's happening. So when we healed ourselves, we healed the people that had that link to us, that trigger those traumatic experiences, through love and forgiveness and acceptance.
Yes.
And through the dark night of the soul, a lot of my own personal experience, my guide just told me 2 words: surrender, acceptance. So at times when we go through the void, when we felt like we don't feel connected anymore, especially even those people who are spiritual, like they have been doing a lot of work over many, many years, and they still going through that night of the soul, because everyone's not exempt. Like everyone needs to go through
Right.
lots of cycle, because we have lots of things that's been storing inside our cells and our soul memory. So all of that needs to come out in the right timing. So when you go through that one, when you felt like you lost or something, surrender to it, knowing that this is part of the process, and there will be light towards the end of the tunnel. So the positive note on that is, after you go through the dark night of the soul, once you actually integrate and process it, you feel like you're a new person,
That's right.
because this is a rebirth. So either it's a mini rebirth or a big rebirth, depends on how intense your dark night of the soul. The more
Yes.
intensive it is, the bigger the initiation.
Yeah.
So you come out as a more powerful, more stronger person. You even open up your gifts. You even, find out there are things that you don't know, and the doors open to you, and you start walking. And then you felt like, oh, so you're moving towards able to live, aligning your soul purpose. So it is actually a gift. And then the more that we see that is happening around us, the more positive I felt, is because it's almost like a sign telling us that everyone is actually going through this crisis. Everyone is actually trying to move up energy level.
Yes. And I think that's the thing. It's progression, isn't it? It's saying, well, if you've come here and with a purpose, all of us have come here with an intention and purpose on the planet. And a lot of us that are going through this great awakening, like you say, we've already, like, we're doing the work for the planet. We've been doing it for years. And then suddenly stuff comes up that we're having to work through, that we ourselves have helped other people work through in the past. And quite often you think, oh, I've hacked this. I don't actually need to go through this again. But the soul, on the other hand, as its other purpose, its other mission, the soul has a memory of something different. And also what I'm finding is the intensity at the moment is due to the fact that we've had a lot of past lives on the planet, on other planets, on, in other parts of the galaxy and other galaxies. A lot of people have gone through that. Now,
That's right.
you'll know that because somewhere within you, if you are in tune with if you are doing the work, you will know that you are one of those people, if that's who you are, because everybody has got a different galactic history, or the soul's history is different. But this lifetime, it seems, in this time and space, we're having to clear a lot of the old lifetimes stuff that happened then. And I think it's probably got to do with the soul's agreement to do that now, because nothing is by chance. Everything is relative, everything is relevant. And for want of a better word, everything is ordained, as you'd say if you were in church. So I feel like that's it. And Carol, you're talking about the planet transforming. So the Arcturians, when we were doing work with the Arcturians, the group that used to channel that still do channel the Arcturians, just I no longer work with them. They had said that the difference at the moment for planet Earth is, compared to another planet somewhere else, is that Earth is transforming. And whilst Earth is transforming, so are the people. So that is a collective thing that's going on. Supposedly, when a planet is going through a transformation, normally the people get taken off, the transformation happens, and then people get put back on. But in this case, it's different. That is why we have got the attraction of the galactic community watching what's happening on Earth, because what happens here is going to affect everything and everyone else. So,
yeah.
So this is why it's intense at the moment. So, Carol, I know you're saying, is there anything more you want to say about that? Because I wanted to go on to say something else.
Oh, that's okay. You can carry on.
Okay. So I think, given the intensity of things, you were talking about people taking care of the body, eating food that's good for the body, making sure. So we're talking about not eating processed food, eating organic food, making sure you walk in the grass on a daily basis to ground yourself, or walk on the seashore. hug a tree, spend some time with your dog, pet the cat, all of those things. So what about the other part? Like, I mean, we've been doing meditations for all this time. This is why we are here, because this, we can say dark night of the soul, because if someone's hearing it for the first time, I hope they'll go and find out why. And I know that if somebody, whoever they are, whether they have been awakening or starting their awakening process, if you come across this, it means that you're meant to hear this conversation. It is for you, your higher self, your guidance system has brought you to it. So the conversation is timeless. Whenever you hear it, it's going to be, like they say, the other podcasts say, whenever you hear it, it's going to be appropriate for you, because we know this in the esoteric world. That's what it means, right? So also, my point being is we're talking about the meditation and the mindfulness stuff that's going on. So we encourage people to do that as part of their daily routine, right? Doing meditation, practicing.
Affirmation, or even decrees. So these help us to reprogram the mind. So normally you need to carry on doing it for at least 21 days, because it takes about 21 days to
Yes,
reprogram the old mindset. Yeah, I definitely recommended people to look into that as well, like or either trying to go into the YouTube channels to find out affirmation, prayers. There's some longer ones and shorter ones, with whichever that, suits you. You can, have it play the first thing in the morning to put you like sort of in the mood or mindset of starting with affirmation, gratitude, or even self-love affirmation to start with.
great.
But gratitude is another good thing. But I understand that sometimes when you are in great anxiety or in fear, you cannot just jump into gratitude. It's too big of a jump of the energy gap. So I would say, releasing those energy, it's really gonna be helpful. So listening to like frequency music that helps you release the anxiety or fear, those are really good. So 432 hertz or 528 hertz, but depending on how you can check out in the YouTube channels like which frequency music actually speaks to you, and then you start listening to that, and then it will attract to you what you actually need.
Yes, yes. I think for somebody starting out, this is our encouragement, get yourself into the space, and to get yourself into that space where you can be in a calm space, where you can get balance, do the physical, do the spiritual, do the emotional things. Remember, you are going through this because you are transforming. There's a lot of love, and um, there's a lot of support out there, like assistance. And Carol is talking about YouTube. YouTube has got a lot of assistance. Like you've got guided meditations. People I recommend for affirmations and guided meditations, going through things that are quite intense, past lives and all that. People like Steve Noble. The other one that I listen to a lot is Tim Wilde. Tim Wilde is doing something called the Woodland Chronicles, and he's talking to us at this time and space. He does meditations on a Monday. I can put some links in the description box to these people for anybody who's trying to find that. So this is for anyone who's just coming into the awakening phase and listening to us. The reason why I'm saying we'll put the links in there is because the aim here is to support anybody in the audience who needs that. And whilst this is a New Zealand channel, look, if there's somebody in New Zealand who's doing this kind of stuff, I will share that link with you if I can find it. All right. But in the meantime, I know I depend a lot on people outside of New Zealand, because we haven't had such a platform. We've got people doing guided meditations in New Zealand, for example, right? But I hope somebody will start doing it here so we can depend on it. But we are very, very lucky, and we are blessed for all of the energy workers on the planet, right? Because we've got so many of them and they do some amazing work. So I'll put some links in the description box for you to be able to access people who, if you're thinking, I want to do some meditations, or I want to do mindfulness or something like that, these are the people. Because I think just yesterday I was listening to Steve Noble's I Am affirmations, and I thought that was pretty awesome. You know, one of the things that Abraham Hicks encourages us to do now, Abraham Hicks, this is a collective channeled by Esther Hicks, and Abraham encourages us to do like this meditation, to start off with your meditation in the morning, where you do 10 minutes, where you put the timer on your phone, you sit in a quiet space, beg your pardon, sorry about that noise, you sit in a quiet space, and you, I'm just going to turn that, and technology. So you sit in a quiet space for 10 minutes, and you just practice breathing. And the breathing is breathing in through your nose, take it all the way to the bottom of your belly, push it out, then slowly bring it up to your torso and pause. In your mind, you can count from 1 to 4, and then you bring it back into your chest, bring it up into your chest, into your throat, and gently out of your mouth. There's so many breathing techniques. I understand there's probably about 130 different breathing techniques. So if you do that through that 10 minutes, if you do 5 minutes of breathing, and then you just stop and you just pay attention to the thought patterns, and lots of thoughts will come through, but what you will do is you just let them pass by like clouds in the sky. And they say that if you, for, I think, what is it, 17 seconds, if you slip into the mode of alignment with your higher self, you are all set for the day. You know, things will realign, and imagine 17 seconds to cross over into that energetic space. And then things start to change and work in your favor. So it's one of those things where you can start to practice meditation and mindfulness, I think, and get into the mind space where you start looking at things from a higher perspective. So anything else you want to say about that, Carol?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right, absolutely on that. And also, you know, start doing things that actually makes you feel happier. So whatever that is.
Turn up the music and dance. I know we're talking about frequency music, and frequency music is great. I love it. And you can also listen to frequency music if you have it on your computer or on your TV. You can listen to frequency music, like showing you sceneries of other places you'd love to visit. Like, you know, you want to go to the Dalmatian mountains, for example, or you want to go to Croatia or Italy or whatever. You've got frequency music attached to those sceneries. And almost like if you stand in front of this big screen TV, which I do, that's my secret, and you feel like you're looking at it from the sky, and you are like about to land there. And so there you go, you've got frequency music, but you've got something where you're not thinking, oh, it's frequency music, and oh, that's all I've got to worry about. Frequency music, but with something that's interesting and making your heart sing. And also you've got frequency music with nature, with birds, with the forest. It's like amazing. So we have all this wonderful buffet of beautiful things to indulge in. And one of the things I always encourage is put on some music and start to do a jig alone in the lounge by yourself. And I tell you what, for me, dancing makes me laugh. So, so there you go. Automatically, happiness is in the air. So, you know, get happy, because when you change that vibration of being stuck or feeling sad or feeling low, it might not feel easy in the beginning, but you'll get there. Try it.
Yeah. Or just shake it off, like just shake your whole body.
Shake your whole body.
So you shake off those energies that's been stuck around you as well. And then also stay away from toxic people.
Love that.
Price.
Yeah.
So stay away from toxic people, low energy, or avoid going to the crowds. because this is a time where you actually go within and you're most sensitive in your energy as well. So don't worry if you feel, you felt isolated or something. You're not alone. There are a lot of people going through the same crisis that you are. Just open to search or connect or talk to someone. Yeah, I'm sure when you start looking, your answer will be there.
Yes, I agree. I think that's it. That thing of uh you know don't entertain toxic people. It's your prerogative, like you often find. And also we want to support people, so when people are in trouble, we get to talk to them, and we want to listen to what's going on with them. Apply discernment to your life, because I think it's very important. As much as you want to be there for somebody, it's very important right now to keep the energy space clear of things that it doesn't need. I love those words you use, Carol. You're the first person I heard use spiritual hygiene.
Oh.
You use those words. And I think this is what we've got to remember. You've got to apply discernment to what's going on in your world. Like, how much of the outside world do you allow in? Think about conversations we have, or you're having sometimes. I have to do it all the time too, because quite often you can invite a conversation in that you didn't plan to. Not that you plan conversations, but you can invite, something can happen and you like, oh my gosh, it turned out in a negative way when it was never even going to go like that. So protect yourself. That's also part of self-love, I think, when you protect your energy and when you have the right kinds of interactions. Carol, I'm conscious of time. We've been talking for a while now, for 1 hour. I think what we might do is I might ask you to tell us anything else, give you the platform to tell us anything else you want to. And if there isn't anything else, that's great. Tell us where people can get a hold of you, to if they were interested in your kind of energy healing.
Sure. I also have a document which is free to download through my website, and
Great.
it is called How to Maintain High Vibration. So that document has, my personal sharing of my experience of what actually helps the mind, body, spirit side. So for those who are interested, please go there and download the free copy and see what kind of tools there, because I actually listed different ways or methods to help. So it doesn't necessarily means, just for the how to maintain high vibration. You can apply this through, different stages of what you're going through as well, including that night of the soul. So I encourage you to go and check that out if you are interested. And my website is www.energy-medicine.co.nz.
Thank you, Carol. We're going to put that in the description box as well. We're going to put that link in there too for your website. So if anybody is interested in getting in touch with you, that they have it there, or if they want to get that document, that they can go and do it, through this channel.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. It's under Ascension Support.
right.
So part of my work is to help people going through the ascension process. Although I'm still also learning on the way. So my work also evolved along time and experience. So I have that help as well to offer for those who would like, a helping hand.
Great. That's great. I think it's very important. The helping through the ascension process is very important, because a lot of people are confused about what's going on with the body, or why they're feeling so disconcerted or unbalanced, anxious, all of those things. And I just spoke to somebody earlier today who was saying, oh, I'm just not feeling stable. And I said, well, you know what? Just remember, these are ascension symptoms. And the way to work through it is to be grounded, is to do all of those things. I might actually refer her to you as well, to maybe give you some, for her to get some sort of balance. I will mention you to her later on, because I have to talk to her again. It's just that, you know, we all could use some help. It's like if we were unwell, we wouldn't stay, we would help ourselves first. If you had flu symptoms, you'd help yourself first in order to overcome it. And then if you felt that it wasn't getting under control, you'd go and get some help, wouldn't you? You'd go to the doctor, to the GP or something like that. So Carol, thank you so much for coming today. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this. I need you to know that from the bottom of my heart. I know how busy your world is, but you have taken the time for humanity to come and have this conversation with me. And I am eternally grateful for that. Everybody that comes into this channel, I'm eternally grateful for the time they give to us.
I'm also eternally grateful to you, Rose, because yeah, you are really amazing in
Thank you.
stepping up to do this channel as well as all this radio, putting it out in the air, in the ether. So yeah, I really appreciate your work.
Thank you so much. You have to thank the universe and my guidance system, because it was after the dark night of the soul that I got to do this. So that's great, right? Thank you. And great. So no last words. You said everything you needed to say, Carol?
No, I think I'm good. We're good.
Good. All right. So guys, if you want to contact Carol, I will put her email, beg your pardon, I will put a website, a web address in the description box, but she is at energy-medicine.co.nz. And I will, you said www, didn't you? You said,
oh yes, maybe. Yeah.
yeah. So I'll tell
Yes,
you why I
maybe.
got that, because I just went into Google and I put in Carol Bird,
Yeah.
and that's why I got that. But
Yeah.
both addresses. But anyway, I will be putting it in the description box. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
So nice. Thank you, Carol. Thank you to our audience. Great to have you listening to us. And hey, it's wonderful to have you all on board. Look forward to next time, which is not far away. And yeah, thank you for joining us here, Auckland, New Zealand. Welcome to our world. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Good evening.